Everyone tells you to build raised beds. Every gardening video, every blog post, every friend who grew a tomato once will look you in the eye and say the same thing. You need raised beds. And I understand why they say it, because raised beds look clean, they feel organized, and they give you the sense that you are doing something serious. But here is what nobody tells you. Before you spend your weekend hauling lumber and filling frames with expensive soil, raised beds are not always the answer. And for some people, they are actually the worst choice you could make. I have built more raised beds than I can count, and I have also torn many of them down after realizing they were solving a problem I never actually had. The first thing you need to understand is what raised beds are actually designed to do. They were invented to solve specific problems, and if you do not have those problems, you are spending time and money on something that gives you no real advantage. Raised beds make sense when your native soil is so contaminated or compacted that nothing will grow in it. They make sense when you have serious drainage issues that cannot be fixed any other way. They make sense when physical limitations make it hard for you to bend down to ground level. These are legitimate reasons to build raised beds. But if you have decent soil, reasonable drainage, and a healthy back, you might be creating more work for yourself than you realize. The cost of raised beds adds up faster than most people expect. Even a simple 4x8 frame requires lumber hardware and enough soil to fill it. If you are buying bagged soil from a garden center, you can easily spend over $100 on a single bed. Multiply that by 4 or 5 beds, and you are looking at a significant investment before you have planted a single seed. I have seen people spend more money building their garden than they would have spent on groceries for an entire year. That math does not make sense to me, especially when there are simpler methods that produce the same results or better. The second problem with raised beds is that they dry out much faster than ground-level gardens. The soil inside a raised frame is exposed to air on all sides, which increases evaporation dramatically. During hot summer months, you may find yourself watering twice a day just to keep your plants alive. That extra water adds up in cost and time, and if you miss a day, your crops can suffer permanent damage. In-ground gardens stay cooler and retain moisture far more effectively because they are connected to the larger mass of earth below. The soil acts as a buffer against temperature swings, and your plants benefit from the stability. Another issue that rarely gets discussed is the lifespan of the materials. Wood rots. It does not matter if you use cedar or pine or pressure-treated lumber. Eventually, the boards will break down, and you will have to replace them. I have watched beautiful raised beds fall apart after just 3 or 4 seasons, leaving gardeners frustrated and wondering whether it was worth the effort in the first place. Some people switch to metal or stone or concrete blocks, but each of these alternatives comes with its own set of problems. Metal heats up in the sun and can cook the roots at the edges of your beds. Stone and concrete are heavy, expensive, and permanent, which makes it hard to change your layout as your garden evolves. What I recommend instead for most people is a method that requires no construction at all. It is sometimes called the no-dig method, or sheet mulching or lasagna gardening, depending on who you ask. The principle is simple. Instead of building walls and filling them with soil, you build fertility directly on top of the ground you already have. You lay down a layer of cardboard to smother weeds, then pile on organic matter like leaves, straw, compost, and kitchen scraps. Over time, this material breaks down and creates a rich growing medium that gets better every year. The cost is minimal, the labor is easy, and you end up with soil that is alive and connected to the earth beneath it. I switched to this approach several years ago, and I have never looked back. My gardens are more productive now than they were when I was using raised beds, and I spend a fraction of the time and money maintaining them. The plants send roots deep into the native soil below the mulch layer, which gives them access to water and minerals that raised bed plants can never reach. The earthworms move freely between the layers, mixing organic matter into the ground and creating a living system that improves itself without my intervention. I went from fighting my garden to working with it, and that shift made all the difference. One of the biggest advantages of gardening at ground level is flexibility. When you build raised beds, you are committing to a specific layout that is expensive and difficult to change. If you realize after a season or two that your beds are in the wrong spot or the wrong size, you are stuck with a major project to fix it. With ground-level beds, you can expand, contract, or relocate your growing area with almost no effort. I have moved entire gardens in an afternoon just by laying down new cardboard and piling on fresh mulch. That kind of freedom allows you to adapt as you learn, and adaptation is the key to becoming a better gardener over time. I also want to talk about the aesthetic obsession that drives so much of the raised bed movement. People build raised beds because they want their garden to look neat and tidy, like something out of a magazine. But a beautiful garden is not necessarily a productive one, and a productive garden does not need to look perfect. Some of the most abundant food growing spaces I have ever seen were messy, sprawling, and completely free of wooden frames. The plants did not care that the edges were informal and the harvests were extraordinary. I think we need to let go of the idea that gardening is about appearances and focus instead on what actually matters, which is growing food that feeds our families. There are situations where raised beds make sense, and I do not want to dismiss them entirely. If you are gardening on concrete or asphalt, raised beds are your only option. If your soil is contaminated with lead or other toxins, raised beds with imported soil can protect your health. If you have mobility issues that make bending difficult, taller raised beds can bring the garden up to a comfortable working height. These are valid reasons to invest in the extra infrastructure. But for the majority of backyard gardeners, working with ordinary soil and ordinary bodies, raised beds are a solution in search of a problem. The myth that raised beds produce better harvests is just that, a myth. I have grown side-by-side comparisons using the same varieties, same seeds, same care, and the ground-level beds matched or outperformed the raised ones every time. The difference in yield is negligible, but the difference in cost and effort is enormous. When I add up all the hours I spent building, maintaining, and eventually replacing raised beds, I realize how much of that time could have been spent actually gardening. Time is the most valuable resource we have, and I would rather spend mine harvesting food than repairing frames. If you are just starting out, I encourage you to try the simplest approach first. Find a spot in your yard that gets good sunlight and cover it with cardboard weighted down with rocks or logs. Pile on whatever organic matter you can find and let it sit for a few weeks or even a few months if you have the patience. When you are ready to plant, push aside the mulch, make a small hole, and drop in your seeds or transplants. Water them in, and then step back and watch what happens. You will be surprised at how well plants grow when you stop overcomplicating the process. Gardening does not have to be expensive or difficult, and the best gardens often come from the simplest methods. I have talked to hundreds of gardeners who felt overwhelmed by the idea of building raised beds. They wanted to grow food, but the cost and labor seemed like too much to take on. When I showed them that they could start with nothing more than cardboard and leaves, their whole perspective changed. Suddenly, gardening was accessible. Suddenly, it was something they could try this weekend without spending money they did not have. That accessibility matters because the more people who grow their own food, the more resilient our communities become. We should be lowering barriers, not raising them, and raised beds, despite their popularity, often do exactly the opposite. The truth is that your soil wants to grow food. It has been doing it for millions of years without any help from lumber or hardware stores. Your job is not to replace that system, but to support it. When you pile organic matter on the ground, you are feeding the organisms that make fertility possible. When you avoid tilling and digging, you are protecting the networks that deliver nutrients to your plants. When you garden at ground level, you are joining a process that already works instead of building an artificial system that fights against it. So, before you head to the store and load up your cart with boards and brackets, take a moment to ask yourself what problem you are actually trying to solve. If the answer is that you want your garden to look a certain way, that is fine, but understand that you are paying for aesthetics, not productivity. If the answer is that everyone else uses raised beds, that is not a reason. It is just conformity. The gardeners who grow the most food with the least effort are often the ones who question conventional wisdom and find simpler paths to the same destination. You do not need raised beds to grow food for your family. You just need soil, sunlight, water, and the willingness to let nature do what it already knows how to do. Once you embrace that truth, everything becomes easier, and your garden will reward you with abundance you never thought possible from such a simple approach. The freedom that comes from letting go of unnecessary infrastructure will change not only how you garden, but how you think about growing food for years to come. Start small, trust the process, and watch your soil come alive. I promise you that once you experience the ease of ground-level gardening, you will wonder why you ever considered spending hundreds of dollars on wooden boxes that demand constant attention and repair. The path to a productive garden has always been simpler than the industry wants you to believe. And now you have the knowledge to walk it with confidence, knowing that less truly can become more.